I'm overwhelmed. So many people. Wow. Dear Minister President Winfried Kretschmann, dear Ambassador Andreas Michaelis, the Right Honorable Greg Hans, Consul General Kendall, State Secretaries Olszewski, Dr. Rupp, and Mr. Hassler, members of the State Parliament Karais and Haser, our new BW representative Nicola Pinder, dear speakers, dear guests. My name is Cornelia Frank. I work with Baden-Württemberg International, and it is my pleasure to be the chair of today's opening ceremony of the Baden-Württemberg UK office. Or should I say the land UK office? Maybe. Baden-Württemberg and the United Kingdom, we have always had strong relationships, and the reason why we are here today is to strengthen these ties because UK does matter to Baden-Württemberg. But we will hear more about these ties and what we plan to do in future later on. So with this being said, I would like to welcome the first speaker of today's opening ceremony, the Minister President of the State of Baden-Württemberg, Winfried Kretschmann. Mr. Kretschmann, the floor is yours.
Sehr geehrter Herr Minister Heinz, dear Greg, sehr geehrter Herr Botschafter Michaelis, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren aus der Regierung und dem Parlament, meine Damen und Herren, liebe Gäste. Wir sind seit 3 Tagen im Vereinigten Königreich unterwegs und haben dabei ein Highlight nach dem anderen erlebt. Erst das beeindruckende Edinburgh, dann die Weltklimakonferenz in Glasgow und jetzt London als krönenden Abschluss unserer Reise.
Minister Hans, dear Greg, Ambassador Michaelis, dear members of the government, dear parliamentarians, ladies and gentlemen, we have been on tour in the United Kingdom since 3 days, and one highlight followed after another. First, very impressive Edinburgh, then the World Climate Conference in Glasgow, and now the jewel in the crown of our tour, this.
Warum wir heute Abend hier sind, kann ich mit einem einfachen Dreisatz erklären. Erstens, Großbritannien gehört zu den wichtigsten Handels- und Forschungspartnern unseres Landes. Zweitens, wir wollen nicht, dass der Brexit daran etwas ändert. Drittens, deshalb müssen wir uns noch mehr reinhängen, damit es uns auch so bleibt. So einfach, so logisch, so klar.
Why we're here tonight is something that I can explain with a simple rule of 3, really. Great Britain is amongst our most important trade and research partners of Baden-Württemberg, and we don't want Brexit to change this. And thirdly, for this reason, we simply have to hang in there even more. It's that simple, that logical, that obvious.
Deshalb freue ich mich sehr, heute Abend mit Ihnen gemeinsam den Startschuss zu geben für unser neues Baden-Württemberg UK Office.
And that is why I am delighted to tonight officially launch our new Baden-Württemberg UK Office.
Ganz besonders freue ich mich, dass der Minister of State, Greg Hans, heute bei uns ist, der diese Idee mit unterstützt hat und ein großer Förderer der Zusammenarbeit zwischen dem Vereinigten Königreich, Deutschland und Baden-Württemberg ist. Vielen Dank, Greg.
And I'm especially delighted that tonight the Minister of State for Business, Energy and Clean Growth is here, Greg Hans, who helped to really support this idea and who is a great promoter of the cooperation between the United Kingdom and Baden-Württemberg. Thank you very much, Greg.
Aber auch einen ganz herzlichen Dank auch an den deutschen Botschafter in London, Herrn Michaelis, für die tatkräftige Unterstützung seitens der deutschen Botschaft.
And I'd also like to express my heartfelt thanks to the German ambassador to the Court of St. James, Mr. Ellis, for his very effective support provided by the German embassy.
Meine Damen und Herren, mit dem Brexit muss ja vieles, wenn nicht alles, neu geordnet werden. Zollbestimmungen, Einreisebedingungen, Anerkennung von Qualifikation, Zertifizierung, um nur einige Punkte zu nennen.
Ladies and gentlemen, with Brexit, a lot of things need to be rearranged. Customs regulations, immigration rules, recognition of qualifications, certifications, to name just a few points out of many.
Darauf stellen sich unsere Unternehmen nun in Baden-Württemberg und ihre Handelspartner ein. Und das ist für viele erstmal, um es vorsichtig zu sagen, eine Herausforderung. Denn einiges muss sich noch zurechtruckeln.
And many of our companies in Baden-Württemberg and their trademark partners have to adjust to this change. And for many of them, this, of course, is, first of all, a challenge. And quite a few things will have to fall into place yet.
Der Informations- und Gesprächsbedarf ist jedenfalls groß und deshalb haben wir bereits 2020 eine Partnerschaftsinitiative ins Leben gerufen, gemeinsam mit dem britischen Generalkonsulat in München und dem britischen Department für internationalen Handel.
The need for information and for conversation is very big, which is why already in the year 2020 we have launched the Economic Partnership Initiative, together with the British Consulate General in Munich and with the Department for International Trade.
Wir wollen alles tun, damit die guten Beziehungen zwischen Baden-Württemberg und dem Vereinigten Königreich auch unter neuen Bedingungen gut bleiben, eng und freundschaftlich, langfristig ausgerichtet und belastbar. Denn uns verbindet wirklich viel in der Wirtschaft, in der Wissenschaft und nicht zuletzt, was den gemeinsamen Kampf gegen die Klimaerhitzung betrifft.
So we want to do everything we can in order to maintain the good relations that are enjoyed between Baden-Württemberg and the United Kingdoms, also in this new context, relations which are close and friendly and which have been designed for the long haul. Because there is so much that binds us together in the area of the economy, in the field of science, and not last but not least, also when we combat global warming.
Deshalb spielen auch erneuerbare Energien und Green Tech eine wichtige Rolle in unserer Zusammenarbeit. Mit dem Baden-Württemberg UK Office wollen wir den Blick nun nach vorne richten, wollen die Menschen zusammenbringen und vernetzen.
Which is why also renewables and green tech play a key role in our cooperation. So with the Baden-Württemberg UK office, we really want to fix our gaze ahead and bring people together, creating networks.
Und wir wollen die Zusammenarbeit bei wichtigen Zukunftsthemen und Zukunftstechnologien stärken. Künstliche Intelligenz und maschinelles Lernen, neue Mobilitäten, das smarte, emissionsfreie Auto, Gesundheitswirtschaft, KI und Digitalisierung.
And we want to strengthen our cooperation, especially with regards to the future trends and technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, new mobility, the smart, low-emission cars, and also in the health sector, in the field of AI and digitalization.
Für all diese Themen wird das neue Office Ansprechpartner, Anlaufstelle und Anker sein, für Unternehmen, Hochschulen, Forschungseinrichtungen, sowohl aus Baden-Württemberg wie auch aus dem UK, für Konzerne, Mittelständler oder Start-ups, für Investoren und diejenigen, die eine gute Idee zur Stärkung der Beziehungen zwischen unserem Land und dem Vereinigten Königreich haben.
So for all of these areas, the new office will be the point of contact, the port of call, and an important mooring point for the companies, for universities and research institutions from Baden-Württemberg and also from the United Kingdom, for large corporations, small and medium-sized companies or startups, and also for investors and those who perhaps have a bright idea on how the relations between our land and the United Kingdom can contribute a good idea on how to strengthen the relations between our land and the United Kingdom. Sorry.
Wir freuen uns mit Ihnen, liebe Frau Pinder, eine hervorragende und herausragende Repräsentantin dafür gefunden zu haben. Herzlichen Dank, dass Sie diesen Job machen.
And we're very pleased that we have found a brilliant representative in Mrs. Pinder here. So thank you very much for taking up this responsibility.
Das Office wird von Baden-Württemberg international betrieben, unserer Standortagentur, und Teil eines starken Netzwerkes sein mit London & Partners, mit Scottish Development International und als Fördermitglied bei der britischen Industriekammer in Deutschland.
So the office is going to be run by Baden-Württemberg International, which is our location marketing agency, and it's also going to be part of a very strong network, together with London & Partners, Scottish Development International, and as a sustaining member at the British Chambers of Industry in Germany.
Liebe Frau Pinder, liebe Frau Frank, ich wünsche Ihnen dabei wirklich viel Erfolg, gutes Gelingen. Auch jetzt im Anlauf.
Dear Mrs. Pinder, dear Mrs. Frank, I wish you the best of success also now during the starting phase of the office.
Und wie Sie gesehen haben, flankieren wir das Ganze noch mit einer frisch gebackenen Kampagne. Denn wir haben gemerkt, niemand im Ausland kann Baden-Württemberg aussprechen. Abgesehen vielleicht von ein paar Germanistikprofessoren, und das ist ein bisschen wenig.
Well, as you may have noticed, we are bolstering the whole thing with a campaign because we realize that hardly anybody abroad knows how to pronounce Baden-Württemberg, with the exception of a few German studies professors who are few and far between.
Deswegen machen wir Ihnen einfach den Vorschlag, unserem Land einen Spitznamen zu geben, The Land. Das ist einfach und eingängig und stimmt einfach auch so. The Land.
Which is why we simply make the proposal that you use a nickname for our country, for our land, namely the land.
Und The Land
which
steht
is simple and easily understood and memorable.
The Land steht für lukrative Kooperationsmöglichkeiten, exzellente Forschung, höchste Zuverlässigkeit, Lebensqualität und Genuss. Und ganz in diesem Sinne wünsche ich Ihnen und uns allen nun einen schönen, produktiven Abend. Vielen Dank.
The land represents lucrative opportunities for cooperation, excellent research, absolute reliability, high quality of life and joie de vivre. And on this note, I'll end and wish you all a great evening.
Thank you very much for your kind words. There's nothing much left to say. This is the land. This is what the land stands for. And with the UK Baden-Württemberg Representation Office, we will achieve to create new networks and foster the relationship between UK and Baden-Württemberg. Let me welcome our next speaker, Ambassador Michaelis, the ambassador to the United Kingdom here in London. Please, Mr. Michaelis, the floor is yours.
Lieber Herr Ministerpräsident Kretschmann, liebe Vertreterinnen und Vertreter des Landtags und der Landesregierung Baden-Württemberg, liebe Nicola Pinder, dear Greg, ladies and gentlemen, as one gets older, it happens less and less often that you do something for the first time. Tonight for me is a first time. I am participating in the opening of a Länderrepräsentanz, a rep office of a federal state in the country in which I serve as ambassador. Moreover, Baden-Württemberg is the first German state to open a rep office in the UK. So in a way, I'm helping create my own competition. But that is a good thing. That is a good thing, as competition forces us to do our best. That is true not only if you are from Baden-Württemberg. I'm pleased and honored to speak at this event tonight, as we, the German embassy in London, have a bit of a head start, to be precise, 150 years. Allow me to share 4 pieces of advice based on our own diplomatic experience in the UK. Firstly, you have to find common ground with your host country, something to draw on in difficult times. Anything can help. I asked Wikipedia what links exist between Stuttgart and London. You would be surprised to hear what the first thing is that pops up. They are both part of the so-called blue banana. You will be excused if you don't know what that is. It is the demographic term for a chain of big agglomerations reaching from the UK southeast all the way to northern Italy. There you have it. Secondly, historic links are always helpful. Hence, it might come in handy to know that a Württembergerin, and not only Hanoverians, and I say that, as a Hanoverian, made it all the way to the British throne. Maria von Teck, better known in this part of the world as Queen Mary, wife of George V, grandmother of the current Queen, but also a descendant of the branch of the House of Württemberg. Thirdly, mutual interests are key to keeping a relationship going. In Baden-Württemberg, 1 job in 3 depends upon the export market. The UK is, in spite of Brexit, still one of the key trading partners for the state. Baden-Württemberg offers the innovative technology we will all need to reach net zero together. In this and many other fields of the economy, I see great potential for a lasting cooperation. And last but not least, find a common language. More precisely, bear in mind that umlaute can be tricky for English speakers. The term Baden-Württemberg in itself, and you have referred to it, Minister President, in itself already poses a host of spelling challenges for any non-native German speaker. So it is good that you have taken to branding your state as the land in your campaign to attract interest, foreign workers, investment, and trade cooperation. And tongue twisters like the Baden-Württemberg International Gesellschaft für internationale wirtschaftliche und wissenschaftliche Zusammenarbeit GmbH can cause havoc for interpreters. Good luck with that. On a more serious note, I believe that one of the strengths of federalism is that you get to speak with more than one voice. For example, if you are a company from Baden-Württemberg looking towards the UK, or a UK company interested in doing business in the land, you get an additional route to finding a partner on the other side of the channel. The same is true of science, arts, and people-to-people cooperation. So opening up a second avenue is good news for all of us. And there is a second aspect that I want to underline. I believe in region-to-region or state-to-state contacts. As a representative of a nation state, an embassy is usually focused on what happens in the capital. We are working on changing that. And in fact, some of my colleagues and I myself have already been seen beyond the M25. But I think that the rep office of a Bundesland is in a particularly good position to reach out to other regions within the UK, like Scotland, where you have just been, or like Wales, which has sent representatives to tonight's reception. I would encourage you to deepen those links. Liebe Frau Pinder, you are certainly going to have a lot on your plate. I wish you the best of luck, and the embassy is here to help. Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Thank you, Ambassador Michaelis. I think I need to talk to my boss, but we need to rename Baden-Württemberg International. So it's a really great pleasure to welcome the Right Honorable Greg Hans, Minister of State at the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy and Member of Parliament. Please, Mr. Hans, the floor is yours.
Dear Minister President Kretschmann, Your Excellency Andreas Michaelis, Ladies and Gentlemen, einen sehr schönen guten Abend an Ihnen alle, meine Damen und Herren. Herzlich willkommen bei dieser Veranstaltung und herzlich willkommen an das neue Büro hier von Baden-Württemberg in London. Sie sind sehr, sehr willkommen hier bei unserer Hauptstadt. Danke. So I'm delighted to join you today in the opening of the Baden-Württemberg representation in London. This is a significant milestone in our bilateral relations, and I'm confident that your office will be a boost to the partnership, the friendship between the UK and Baden-Württemberg. Thank you, Herr Ministerpräsident, for your very generous speech, mentioning all of my favorite subjects as the Minister for Energy and Climate Change, renewable energy, climate change, electric vehicles, digitalization. I think the UK and Baden-Württemberg can and are and will be doing a lot together in the present and in the future. So thank you. And thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for mentioning that Baden-Württemberg has set a trend, has started something. I think there's 16 or 17 Bundesländer, I forget, but 16. So perhaps we can expect another 15 to be with us over the course of this time, which may be bad news for London property prices, but good news overall for our representation, our connectivity here in the capital city. But of course, Baden-Württemberg and the UK have long enjoyed close ties. Our two-way trade, already referred to, represents approximately 13 billion euros. Around 550 companies are invested in it, and together they employ about 140,000 people. Above all, our economic partnership initiative will provide the perfect framework for the future and further boost to our trade. Both the UK and Baden-Württemberg engage actively in a number of international events, such as the Automotive Supplier Day, London Tech Week, on it goes. Further activities include economic policy meetings, missions, matching of SMEs, roundtables, and expert dialogues, which I know is also very ably supported by our Consul General in Munich, who's with us this evening as well. On the 24th of November, our flagship event, UK Meets Baden-Württemberg, takes place in Stuttgart. Now, the bad news is that the guest speaker for that event, I'm afraid, can no longer make it. That was me. But that's because I've changed job, and there is a new trade policy minister, Penny Mordaunt, who will be coming in my place, who I'm sure will be as capable, if not more capable, looking forward to participating in that event. So this shows that trade matters. It matters for businesses, investors, and workers on both sides. Our close friendship is not only about trade, of course. Your Bundesland and the UK are linked through a vibrant, frequent exchange in culture and the arts, in tourism and sport, in science and research. Both Baden-Württemberg and the UK are world-renowned for their research and innovation capability, which we were discussing only earlier today at the Department for Digital. The UK represents just 1% of the world's population, but is home to 12 of the world's top 10 universities. I know there's some quite good ones in Baden-Württemberg as well. And the UK accounts for 15% of the world's most highly cited articles. Baden-Württemberg is home to excellent universities, 13 out of 40 Fraunhofer locations, and 14 excellence clusters. There is great potential here for our scientific communities to cooperate and for us to further boost our research competitiveness and our prosperity. Our researchers are also working together in a number of European research partnerships. For example, in the field of cancer research, Germany's Cancer Research Centre, based in Heidelberg, is cooperating with Cancer Research UK and a number of UK universities in the Cancer Core Europe and Cancer Prevention Europe initiatives. And your office, Frau Pinder, will of course do so much more than link Baden-Württemberg and the UK. It is also a sign that our two countries as a whole are opening a new chapter in our relations. Now, I know that many Germans, I'm married to one myself, expressed personal regret about our decision to leave the EU. Now, you'll be delighted I'm not going to go off into Brexit at this point, but the last 5 years have felt like a long time. But for 10 months now, we have had a deal, the EU-UK Trade and Cooperation Agreement, that allows us to look to the future, which is, after all, the most important thing. Of course, 2021 itself has now been challenging for many reasons: COVID-19, supply chain disruption, and consumer uncertainty. Trade between the UK and Germany will take time to find its rhythm, particularly as we recover past the pandemic and look towards a sustained economic recovery in both our countries. Right now, we are doing all that we can to support businesses continuing trading and to find flexible and pragmatic solutions to issues when they arise. But I'm confident that our relationship remains strong and a good foundation for our future partnership because of three reasons. First, our government-to-government and people-to-people relations are strong, evidenced in the outcomes of Chancellor Merkel's visit here in July. The Chancellor and the Prime Minister agreed to hold regular cabinet meetings, which we hope will result in a bilateral treaty. Our governments have also pledged support to increase funding for youth exchange. I remember, I didn't come to Baden-Württemberg, but I remember at age 18 taking part in the Deutsch-Britische Jugendaustausch and going to the completely the opposite end of the country to West Berlin. And it changed my life forever, I hope in a positive way. Being able to experience not only living in Germany, not only living in a foreign country, but introducing myself to a whole different world beyond the Iron Curtain just in the few years before it fell. And that had a profound change on my life. So youth exchange, incredibly important, and reinstate an annual cultural dialogue. Second, when you look at addressing international challenges, we share many of the same interests and values. We have enshrined our intention to work together on foreign policy in our joint declaration in July. It isn't just a bit of paper. We see it as a catalyst to deepen cooperation. Germany's likely new government will retain many of Germany's core values and interests, which the UK government shares. As our Prime Minister set out in our integrated review, the UK looks to Germany as a vital ally. So the UK needs Germany, and Germany needs the UK. In tackling today's challenges, handling the pandemic, building back better, greening cities, and bringing about a step change in the fight against climate change, for example, where we are ably cooperating together at the COP26 climate conference, which I've just returned to. Herr Minister President Kretschmann has been, and actually the UK and Germany, I couldn't see any difference in our position on climate change, really there. We're both committed to the same things. And third, evidenced in fact by the various work streams of the Economic Partnership Initiative with Baden-Württemberg, we share many views on research priorities and future technologies, whether it's on artificial intelligence and data, on clean growth, on the future of mobility, and on an aging society. So, to Baden-Württemberg. Look, I first came across Baden-Württemberg, and I couldn't pronounce it then, I have to confess. At primary school, doing a primary school project about West Germany. Everybody in the class was given an EU country, ironic that it may seem, to study. And I said, well, what about, no one else has chosen West Germany, I will do West Germany. My first visit to Baden-Württemberg came in 1983. When I crossed the river from Strasbourg, I'd gotten some funding to do a project, ironically studying Franco-German friendship and what lessons there are to learn from that friendship. There's quite a lot of ironies in these different things. So I went to Kiel and then went on, I think, to Offenburg as well. My first Member of Parliament visit was to Baden-Baden, actually with the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, and the joint working group that we had with German MPs there as well. I went to Chancellor Merkel's famous Schwäbische Hausfrau speech in, I think, about 2007. I've been many times to Baden-Württemberg, and I think the importance of Baden-Württemberg as a sixth of the UK's economy, an eighth of Germany's economy. Look, if Baden-Württemberg were its own country, by the way, I'm not recommending anybody does that, and probably not through a referendum, but if it were to be its own country, then it would be a significant partner of the UK's in its own right. So to conclude, I am confident this representation will bring us even closer together. Viel Glück, Frau Pinder, viel Glück an alle. I'm looking forward to shaping the new era of our relationship with you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much, and you're absolutely right. This is a new chapter of cooperation between Baden-Württemberg and UK, and we are really looking forward to it. We would now like to proceed with the official opening ceremony of the Baden-Württemberg UK office, the main reason why we are here today. And we will start with a short video on the new campaign so that you can get an idea of what it is about. So, Nina, would you start the video?
As the sun rises over Baden-Württemberg, both treetops and top companies bathe in its light. It shines on high-tech and haute cuisine, and sparkles in the eyes of great people. It highlights a unique place. A place in which progress and sustainability work hand in hand. Full of innovation and inquiring minds. With universities uniquely positioned on the global stage. A place with a lively tradition of reinvention. A home for poets and thinkers, alongside designers and developers. A home for family-run businesses and family units. For everyone who comes here to establish themselves. And for anyone with difficulty pronouncing Baden-Württemberg, we are the land. Baden-Württemberg, the land.
I would now like to ask Minister President Kretschmann, Mr. Hans, Ambassador Michaelis, and Nicola on the stage for a small picture-taking ceremony, wenn Sie auf die Bühne kommen. And we did prepare for, and also the press can come forward to take pictures. We did prepare a sign, Ing X Land, which is a symbol for the future cooperation. So Nicola, you have to go in the middle.
I get the A.
So the press has the possibility to take a couple of pictures now. And we declare the Baden-Württemberg UK office as open now. Thank you so much. So with Nicola, we really have a declared expert with over 20 years of experience in planning, implementation, and executing trade and investment support projects in cooperation with government and private sector stakeholders. So she's really a wonderful person, and we're so happy to have you, Nicola, to work with us in the future and to represent our wonderful state of Baden-Württemberg. And I would like Nicola to come on the stage now because you're going to take over for the panel discussion. So Nicola, the floor is yours now.
Hello? Yeah, great. So could I welcome the panelists to the stage, please? So we have Professor Geraint Rees, Manish Patel, Professor Dr. Philip Behrens, and Thomas Freudenmann. So, Manish, can I ask you to sit here? Okay, good evening, everybody, and a particularly warm welcome to all of our guest panelists this evening. Professor Geraint Rees, who is Vice Provost and Dean of the Faculty of Life Sciences at UCL, Non-Executive Director of UCL Business, one of the UK's most successful technology transfer companies, and he was Senior Scientific Advisor at DeepMind from 2018 to 2020. A neurologist and neuroscientist, his research seeks to understand the neural basis of human cognition. Manish Patel is co-founder of Jiva, a company born out of KQ Labs, the Francis Crick Startup Accelerator, which hosts 10 companies working at the interface of data science and biomedical science. He's executing the core vision and mission of Jiva, one that will see the democratization of multimodal AI systems in healthcare and beyond. Professor Dr. Philip Behrens is using machine learning and data analytics for large-scale neuroscience and medical data science, working on identifying cell types, circuits and computations in the healthy and diseased visual system, and improving clinical diagnostics. His group are part of the Institute of the Ophthalmic Research at the University of Tübingen and affiliated with the Center of Integrative Neuroscience and the Bernstein Center for Computational Neuroscience in Tübingen, and he's a member of the Cyber Valley. And Thomas Freudenmann, co-founder and CEO of EDI GmbH, engineering data intelligence, working in semantic web AI-based algorithms and digital business models. So you can see we have a fantastic panel lined up this evening. Lots of very, very intelligent people on the stage here with lots of great experience to share. So just by way of an opening statement, I'd like to talk about artificial intelligence, I can get my words out, which has the power to transform, or the potential power to transform how healthcare is delivered. A recent joint report with the European Union's EIT Health explores how it can support improvements in care outcomes, patient experience, and access to healthcare services. It can increase productivity and the efficiency of care delivery and allow healthcare systems to provide more and better care to more people. So I'd like to start by asking a fairly big question and ask each of our speakers to provide quite a concise sentence based really on their own professional experience as an answer. Artificial intelligence is poised to become a transformational force in healthcare. How will providers and patients benefit most from the impact of AI-driven tools? So, Professor Rees, if we can come to you first.
So I'm going to pick up on the theme of the evening and say in partnership. So when technology is developed, technology is something that has to work for patients and for people. And so by working in partnership with patients, in partnership with healthcare professionals, that's the way in which AI is going to profoundly benefit those individuals.
Fantastic, thank you. Manish?
I think I'll start with what it won't do, which is replace clinicians.
Yep.
But ultimately what we'll see is a healthcare benefit for the patients, and that's what we're really after.
Fantastic. Philip?
To illustrate what it can do, I brought this hairdryer.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's not actually a hairdryer. It's a device made by a startup in Tübingen, which is powered by AI, and allows you to take images of the background of the eye, which can be used to diagnose diseases, hopefully more early with the help of the eye. So we can do hopefully better disease prevention and also then treat diseases more early before they become severe.
Fantastic. And Thomas?
Yeah, so we from EDI, we are also convinced that the work life and the life gets easier and more secure with AI. And yeah, we are already using in our daily life strong algorithm. Yeah, so for example, if you navigate with Google Maps to London, it's much easier than in the former days with a big map, yeah, where you have to handle everything. And so I can ask the questions why we should not use this kind of technology to make in the health sector to make the right decisions in taking account all the data which we have available. So I think that's consequent.
Great, thank you. And if I can come to you first, Geraint, perhaps, as a non-executive director of UCL Business, which is one of the UK's most successful technology transfer companies, what are the 3 points that you would identify can fast-track promising developments in AI into implementation in healthcare settings?
That's a big question. So I think I'll answer straightforwardly. You need to know a lot about your pipeline and your ecosystem. And as a technology transfer company, you need to work with those. Big companies, small companies, universities, individuals, they all form part of an ecosystem to translate that technology. And if you don't know your ecosystem, then you're not going to get technology that has a market like our hairdryer or our things like that, and you're not going to get the innovations you want. How do you build an innovation ecosystem? You do it slowly, with patience, and with partnership over many years. So one example from our university, picking up on what Greg Hans said, in the area of cancer and therapies for cancer, the advanced biological therapies, our university has been building with partners that pipeline for over a decade. We now have as many trials in our university and in our hospitals as Spain. We're closing in on Germany, maybe a little bit ahead of Baden-Württemberg, I'm not sure. But we've got that sort of level of partnership. That technology is now ripe for disruption by AI. And so that kind of partnership is what we should be seeking to create today and for the future between the land and ourselves.
Great, great. Looking forward to forging those partnerships and strengthening those relationships.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to find out a little bit more now about an exciting initiative being developed in Baden-Württemberg at the moment, an initiative between the University of Tübingen and the Max Planck Institutes for Biological Cybernetics and Intelligent Systems, the Cyber Valley Health Initiative, for the use of artificial intelligence in medicine and in life sciences. Philip, can you tell us a little bit more about what you're aiming to achieve with the Cyber Valley Health Initiative, and in particular where you see scope to partner, and particularly with UK centres of excellence like UCL and the Francis Crick Institute? Sure.
So the Cyber Valley in itself is a great initiative by the state government and also the Universities of Tübingen, Stuttgart and the Max Planck Society to invest heavily into intelligent systems research in the local area. And I think over the past 5 years, I think we've built an ecosystem that really on the one hand uniquely strengthens our capabilities to do basic research in intelligent systems and artificial intelligence and machine learning, and on the other hand also creates the necessary structures to do technology transfer and to create a startup culture which maybe is more common to the UK than classically to Germany. But I think we've had some success in the past years in that direction. As the Cyber Valley, we also have strong European ties also into the UK through the Ellis initiative. And the Cyber Valley Health Initiative is an idea to capitalize on all of that, to bridge from basic research in artificial intelligence to applications in the health sector. So my own position is in the ophthalmology department. Ophthalmology is a great field for that because it has lots of imaging data and actually has been at the forefront of artificial intelligence applications in medicine. And here we are also collaborating already now with partners here in London, which I'm going to visit tomorrow, and I'm sure Geraint and I will also talk about later.
Please do.
So in terms of partnerships, you think German innovation and UK commercialisation go-to-market expertise can form a great partnership. as well as obviously both of those factors in the reverse direction. But I mean, in terms of trying to foster partnerships, early analyses of levels of VC investment and AI-related clinical trials, as well as the numbers of companies and MA deals in digital and AI, show that this very fast-moving market, where Europe as a group of countries, and in this case including the UK, plays a growing role internationally, alongside the likes of the US and China. And I know, Manish, that you're very passionate about the democratization of multimodal AI systems in healthcare and beyond. And having scaled in an accelerator, I was quite interested to hear if you have some insights and real life experience to share in terms of, if you think there's a level playing field across Europe at the moment.
So the short answer is, at the moment, no, there isn't. And you can see that in the numbers. There are more life sciences companies in the UK than the whole of the rest of the EU put together. And there's a certain number of reasons for that. One of them is that we have great universities like UCL. I'm a UCLer, by the way.
That's good too.
But we also have very good infrastructures for startups and a very good fostering environment and those partnerships that you're talking about for startups in all of the cities in the UK.
Yeah.
One of them being EIS and SEIS funding. Obviously, if you're an SEIS investor, you get 50% of your investment back. EIS is something like 30%. I think that's unique in the European countries. Furthermore, the UK has a very strong environment for grant funding, both for universities and for commercialization of products. So, for example, the NHS has the NIA and the London Digital Health Accelerator. Both of these are dedicated to accelerating healthcare startups in the UK, not from just, putting whatever your product is into one hospital, but expanding it into lots and lots of hospitals across the country. There are also some nice kind of infrastructures in terms of government. So, for example, we have the NICE guidelines that tell clinicians how to conduct certain diagnoses or prognoses. And there is a HTA and STA process that dictates how a startup like mine can create a prostate cancer product like we have, and put that into the clinical evaluation system, such that in 3 years' time, once we've done all of that clinical validation, we can get those written into the guidelines, and actually you'll see most of the hospitals actually take that up. So that kind of infrastructure is absolutely essential for this kind of thing to happen. And again, I think that's unique in the UK, and therefore that's why I say I think at the moment it is an unfair advantage in the UK, but I'm sure the land will follow suit.
We'll level up. Absolutely.
It's not that simple. We have about 100 insurance companies just for the state-run insurances.
Yes. So, I mean, we're going to come on to this topic, absolutely. So, and Thomas, I just wanted to ask you, in terms of European and UK healthcare systems and how differently they are run, how can they play a more fundamental role in catalyzing the scale-up and actual implementation of AI? So what are some of the actions that they could take?
So one thing I think it's already done, it's organizing this kind of events for corporations, connecting people which have knowledge and technology, bring it together so that new things can appear. Other thing, it's also important for me to talk about this artificial intelligence technology, that also not the people get afraid from it, so it makes the life easier in the future. I'm really convinced about this. And so one thing also, while I'm here today, it's we get also some invest from the state Baden-Württemberg, because we are normally a company with typical industry 4.0 applications, and we make a technology transfer to the healthcare sector, and also we are working together with a partner, EOCare, and I also really believe in this platform ecosystem. So here EOCare delivers us a sensor, we transfer the data so that we can monitor the well-being status of elderly people. And that's important for the organizations which are providing, for example, supporting living flats and houses. so that the people knows if everything is okay or I should have a visit there. And that is what I say also in the beginning. Yeah, it makes the life easier in the working life, but also it makes the life secure for the people which gets the service. So, and this kind of invest we get from the state, and that helps us to develop this in 1 year, and it helps us also for this technology transfer. I think our other story is if you have to do some fundamental research, so a short invest, it's maybe not enough, but also we have here a really good example, I think, with Corona and the BioNTech, helps us that we can stay here in this live event. And it was also the state trust, I think, 10, 12 years before in this technology. Also there was invest. It was also with a private invest, but sometimes it takes longer. And also I think it's important from the state perspective that also we get support here. And yeah, one thing it's also about data privacy. So we now have really a sensor which is kind of, if you know it from if you run through a light and then the lights goes on, it's a motion detection, and with a really low resolution to keep the privacy of the people where we install this sensor in account. So for sure in the future, I think with higher resolution we can provide more services. And that's always a trade-off. You have to be careful with the data, and I think that's also an important thing where the state can help us to make sure that the people are convinced about this.
Absolutely, yeah. It sounds like we should all play a pretty active role in AI, and certainly from what you're all saying, for me, a big takeaway is ensuring that thoughtful, intelligent, joined-up approach, a partnership approach to ethics, health data, and patient confidentiality can really shape the AI sector. I just wanted to mention the dreaded B word, I'm afraid, towards the end of the discussion. Just because obviously Brexit has made things a little bit more complicated for everybody. We're all navigating our way through at the moment, and very confident that we're going to find ways to continue working together very effectively. But taking into account the big differences between the German and UK healthcare systems, for example, and also lots of other healthcare systems across Europe, which was obviously highlighted by COVID recently, how can AI in both health tech and pharma collaborate internationally to traverse those boundaries? Could I ask you, Geraint, to take that question?
Yeah, I can have a go. I mean, I think we've got some common themes that are emerging about how these things might work. So we've heard about the role of state funding in terms of research, as well as the role of private capital in developing those. And you brought out the more patient elements of capital. So harmonizing those are important. We've heard about the importance of evaluation and trials and regulatory frameworks for AI, and harmonizing those can help incentivize cooperation across countries. And we've also heard with Tübingen and the Max Planck Society the importance of those fundamental collaborations that persist over Brexit. I think my own university has a very similar philosophy as has been espoused this evening by our colleagues. The fact of Brexit is a little bit annoying, but it basically means we need more cooperation, not less.
Yes.
And that cooperation rests on links that are deep, that are lasting, that are based on our universities, our technical colleges, and all of these things. But I think, the lesson in terms of navigating different healthcare systems is to think about what's required for a product. How can we harmonize regulations, evaluation, availability of capital, things like that. That's what's needed to address global markets, because ultimately, no one wants to make a healthcare solution that is only available in your local hospital. We want something that's available the world over.
Absolutely, yes, thank you. And in terms of strengths, Manish, perhaps you can take this question. From what we've heard tonight about what the state of Baden-Württemberg, the land, has got to offer, what would you say immediately you can see as potential win-wins for the UK to work with an ecosystem like Baden-Württemberg?
So there is a bias in all the companies that start up in the UK in that they are oriented towards a public healthcare system and not necessarily oriented to a private healthcare system. And in Germany, it's kind of 50-50, I think, isn't it? So there is that bias in our startups that we're kind of naive as to how that works over in Europe or even in the US. And similarly, I'm guessing the startups over there are kind of naive as to how it would work in the public healthcare system in the NHS.
Yes.
And so that learning by itself would be very, very valuable. I myself, and we've been in this business for 3 or 4 years now, and I still got my mind goes like this when I'm trying to understand the private healthcare system in the US, because it's just so complex. So that opportunity to exchange knowledge around how those individual healthcare systems and their quirks, what those quirks actually are, I think that's really, really important. May I just say that I second everything that Geraint just said, but also taking a step back in that to make any of this work, we have to accept there is a fundamental data issue at hand that needs to be fixed. I mean, I just saw a tweet the other day about the Perseverance Mars rover, you know, sending messages back to NASA, and they were controlling it from Houston, and they're able to do this over millions of miles, but we're not able to send a medical record from here to over there. And that's the kind of thing we need to fix before we can even do anything in AI.
But do you think there's a way to incentivize adherence to standards through a combination of performance and financial incentives, maybe?
Absolutely.
So that means setting standards for digitization, data quality and completeness, data access, governance, risk management, security and sharing.
Absolutely, and that's already happening, right?
Yes.
We're using FHIR messaging, we're using EHRs all over the place. We have monthly calls with Roche Diagnostics. They're moving all their systems over to open air. So that kind of thing is already happening, and there is financial incentive to make that happen, because in the long run it saves money for the healthcare system.
And Manish, there are also technical ways of not having to send records right over there, aren't
there?
True,
yeah, exactly.
Like federated learning and things like that, where all the records stay where they are, and the AI models, the algorithms move, as it were. So there are technical solutions like that, and if we could pioneer those, then that's something that's globally applicable, because people aren't going to move their medical records all over the world. We might go to Baden-Württemberg.
And all those technological modules, they all exist already, and they just need to be put together in the right way.
That's right.
Thomas, maybe I can also add here a word. I think the technology itself, it brings with that partners can cooperate more easy. So also the cloud technology, so we are running in a different cloud environment, but we can transfer the data, and that's not the big problem in these days, because there are some standard formats. So I will say in the industry area, it's maybe now coming more common that the databases from systems are get open. So one example, we are a partner from Siemens MindSphere. It's the IoT platform of Siemens, and in the former days it was really hard to get access to the database. Now the Siemens MindSphere, the idea is really to have this platform ecosystem and are really open, and I think that makes also the cooperations more easier also in the future in the health sector.
And did you have something to add to that, Philip?
To the last point, maybe it depends on your culture and how strong or what compromises you make on, let's say, data privacy, for example, or data security. So this device actually does, the fundoscopy device does all the processing locally on the smartphone. So no data leaves the smartphone. So that's a radically different approach to this kind of platform approach.
Yeah, but I also can say, so the important thing is what kind of data you transfer. So also here the algorithm is running on this device, and we only transfer the aggregated parameters. So that's also a way how you keep some data security and privacy, so then you not get these problems, even the systems get secure.
There was one point I very briefly wanted to make, and that is, so AI in health, I think, is not only a question of taking established algorithms and stuff that is already there, but it's really, like you mentioned, federated learning. I think it's really about also still answering fundamental questions in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and solve these questions that are posed to us by the specific challenges of the healthcare sector. And I think this is one thing where we really need to bring our strengths also together between the two countries and establish, I don't know, also post-Brexit funding mechanisms to do that.
Perhaps just to wrap up and end where we began, that brings us right back to the patients and the healthcare professionals, who are the same. If you're in the land, or if you're in London, or if you're in Edinburgh, it's the same type of problems you have and the same type of problems we have to solve.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Geraint, for wrapping up there. So thank you very much to all of my panelists this evening. That was a fantastic discussion. And if you'd like to continue the discussion, instead of having Q&A, we're going to invite you to talk to the panelists during the networking so that we can all have some refreshments and carry on chatting in a more informal environment. But thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you very much.